that's just kind of my criteria. I want to know the person a little bit more before I sit down with them because I think it helps me continue the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will be perfectly honest and perfectly blunt. There's people that I met beforehand. I had intentions to interview them after I met them. There's like only 2 people. I decided not to.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was worth it. It wasn't the type of person I wanted to be around. Just different type of character. And so I'm not going to give them a platform. They can go out there and do that on their own.
Who are they? Name the names. No, just kidding, of course. Hey guys, it's Shane from Karate Over Coffee, and I'm with a very special guest, my friend Josh Simmers from the Okinawa Karate Podcast. Welcome aboard, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Like the shirt I'm sporting here?
I do. So for those who are just listening on a podcast, Josh is wearing one of my straight out of Naifunchi shirts. So actually, I was thinking about making a separate own shop where it has straight out of Naifunchi, straight out of Naihanchi, and straight out of Teki. So I'm covering all bases. Or maybe straight out of Sanchin as well.
Yeah. I like that idea because I've actually had people ask me about Naifunchi, and I had to explain the perhaps original dialect or original pronunciation. And actually, I've met people here on Okinawa that still call Naifunchi.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you something. I don't know if you had a decision in the type of shirt. I guess you probably did, or if you tested the quality. This is by far, and I'm not saying this just because I'm on your podcast, it's by far one of my favorite shirts. It is amazingly comfortable.
Yeah.
So kudos to you or whoever chose this actual shirt. It's a very comfortable shirt.
Well, you know where actually I got the idea is from James Pankovic, from his shirts. I bought one of his shirts and this is good. And then I had a look to see, how you make those shirts. And so I've been selling those shirts on my karate club for a few years, maybe 5 years now through a separate website. So they're very comfortable. I love them. I'm wearing one now too. Yeah.
I've worn this everywhere. I wear it to yoga, actually, believe it or not, a lot of times because it's stretchy and it fits well. So
well, it is triple XL, mate. So that's nice. So, well, if you like the quality of that, I'm sure you love the quality of our Karate Over Coffee shirts as well. They're the same ones. Yeah. Ooh, nice plug.
Yeah. Or Karate Over Coffee mug.
Yes, got one here. I'll have to send you one as well.
Look at that. I'm just doing a regular old Okinawa coffee mug today.
Oh, what are you drinking? Whiskey?
I am drinking a medium roast out of Mexico, actually.
Okay.
So last Sunday was Father's Day. Mm-hmm. The American we celebrated American holiday in June 14th, I think it was this year. So my daughters bought me 2 bags of coffee from the local coffee shop here at the shopping mall, and they're from Mexico. So medium roast, and it's pretty darn good. What are you drinking?
I'm just a long black, man. Long black. Just a
long black.
Espresso long black. Yeah, I've got a fantastic coffee shop next to me. They are obsessed with coffee. They're the ultimate coffee snobs. So they don't do any caramel lattes or they are. When
I traveled to, I went to Melbourne in 2017 or 18 for work, a business trip. And when I met people and said I'm from America originally, and I was trying to buy a coffee, all I kept hearing was, "Oh, you guys ruin coffee in America. Yeah. All you do is burn coffee. I think all the pots are burned." I was like, what are you even talking about? It's just, I don't know. But it took me literally over a week to even realize what I wanted to order in Australia because I didn't understand, some of the, hey, I just want a coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I think I finally settled on was it a flat white or something?
Flat white, yep. Flat white.
Flat white, is that okay?
Coffee and milk.
So I usually have a coffee with a little bit of cream in it, yeah. This one I'm having black today because it's medium roast. It's not real strong, but
Well,
you guys have it down to a science.
Mate, yeah, look, when I got two stories. One is about the cream involves karate. We used to be associated with a guy named Kiyoshi Yamazaki through Ryobukai, the Shindo Jinanru with Kanishi Yasuhiro. Anyway, he used to come to Australia a lot, and the first time he came, my mum asked him, how do you have your coffee? And said, black with cream. So my mum used to specifically go out and buy cream, not milk, and put cream in the coffee. Anyway, he was too nice to say that coffee tastes awful, so he kept drinking it. And it wasn't until a long time after we were watching a movie, like a TV show where they're putting in milk but calling it cream. Like, oh, right. So he just has it normal coffee, right? Okay. And a couple of years ago, I went to New York and trying to find coffee because, coming from Australia, we love our coffee like everywhere, but pretty much anywhere in Australia you go, you can get a fairly decent cup of coffee anywhere. And when I found in New York it's very weak coffee. And so anyway, I ended up finding out what my coffee was. It was in Starbucks. It's 12 shots. And it used to cost me like 20 something US dollars to have a coffee. But when I had that, it felt like I was at home. So I could only limit myself to 2 coffees a day. $40, man.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah,
that's a little high test right there. That's high octane.
Yeah, well, this is karate over coffee, so we've covered one aspect, but so
just aspect of it,
yeah, man. The reason I wanted to bring you on is not so much to discuss the karate aspect, which we could discuss for the next 12 hours, but more about your podcast, how you run your podcast. Just give you a quick background, and I can't remember if you remember, but I started listening to your podcast, maybe 2 years ago or so, and anyway, I'm listening, really enjoying it, but I thought, God, this guy sounds like somebody I know. Like, how do I know that voice? And I just finished watching Parks and Recreation on Netflix or something, and I'd never really watched it before. I didn't really know much about it, but I'm like, that guy sounds like Ron Swanson. So I messaged you and said, hey mate, really enjoy the podcast. By the way, has anybody ever said that you sound exactly like Ron Swanson? And about this time, I will edit it and put a little video on Ron Swanson so you can hear the difference between, the similarities between the two voices. And anyway. So
after you sent that to me, I pulled him up on YouTube and I was listening to it and I was laughing. And my wife asked me, what are you laughing about? Why are you watching this guy? And I told her, I was like, this guy from Australia told me I sound like this guy. And we started watching the show and there was parts and I was like, gosh, that does sound like something I would say. The tone of voice, sometimes kind of in disgust or whatever.
Yeah, like the delivery, with the accents, I can't really tell the difference between a lot of different American accents, but to me it just sounded like the same, man. And I was like, so every time I was listening to it, I'm imagining Ron Swanson is interviewing Jesse Enkamp, and he's out doing seminars, and he's trying on a new wave too.
I love it.
So anyway, it took me a while to get on it.
Yeah.
But so since then I've been
appreciate it, man.
I've been chatting to you, and we both have a love of beer and of IPAs, pale ales.
Yep.
So I thought I'd get
things in common than just karate for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we have Ron Swanson, and so I thought I'd get you on just to talk mainly about the podcast, because I know you've done a few outside podcasts with other people's podcasts, and so let's kick it off. How did you get into what made you decide to do the podcast?
So I used to listen to podcasts when I was living back in the States, and mainly I had a 34-mile round trip drive to work every day, 17 miles one way. And depending on traffic, I'd be in the car for a little over an hour sometimes, and just bored with what was on the radio, started listening to different podcasts.
Totally, yeah.
A variety of subjects, right? And then I would start to listen to some more at home, garage, doing some stuff or whatever. In 2015, we moved here to Okinawa, and I was still listening to them. But it was funny, when I was living here in Okinawa, I was actually starting to search more for karate-related podcasts. And there's a lot of them out there, but there was nothing coming from Okinawa. There was a lot of them that covered, of course, there's going to be a lot that cover stuff like Shotokan. There's a lot of stuff that cover mixed martial arts, and there's many different flavors out there. Hey, there's nothing actually from Okinawa. And when I was living in the States, I always wanted to hear something, read something, watch something from Okinawa. So sitting here kind of kicking it around, and there was actually a motivational speaker that I was listening to. One of the podcasts that I started listening to years ago, and I still do, is a podcast called Every Day is Saturday. It's just this guy that ended up quitting his corporate job and becoming a motivational speaker amongst other businesses. And he talks all the time about just do it, just create a podcast, just create a business, just try it small, dip your toes in the water, see how it goes, and then if you like it, continue. If not, whatever, Don't sink a lot of money into it. So I said, hey, let's do this. And I went out there and ended up registering Okinawa Karate Podcast.com before I even made my first recording. And I kind of said, if I do that, maybe this will be that push. Okay, I've spent a little bit of money getting a domain name. And then I just kind of hit record and started talking. Yeah, and I think you and I have talked about this in the beginning. Everybody hates the sound of their voice.
Totally,
I must have listened and re-recorded parts of the podcast 20 times. Yeah. Finally, it's just like, look, if you're going to be a Ron Swanson, you're going to be a Ron Swanson. You just go with it. But I just kind of. So that was 3 years ago this month, actually, that I started. Okay, cool. June 18th. Started with audio only in the beginning. And then I don't know, maybe a year into it or something like that, I started to record the interviews like you're doing now with people, because I found that even though I was doing interview-based podcasts, and I would watch interviews with people as well as listen to them.
Same.
I'm in the car, just driving down the road. But sometimes you want to see the mannerisms. Sometimes you want to see if someone's acting something out. Specifically with karate, I noticed that people were starting to demonstrate things when I was interviewing them, like a punch or something. And some of those things don't come through in audio only, right? So I said, well, I'm going to record it and throw them up there on YouTube. And it's what I've been doing now for, I guess, a little over 2 years. And then
now you got millions of
started growing a little bit here, a little bit there. But it's been fun.
It's great. Yeah, it's good, man. I was the same. I hated listening to my voice, and I found that I was editing. I mean, I'm only like 19 or 20 episodes in, but I found I was editing the other person. My stuff. Then the other person, if I'm interviewing them, and I was doing a co-host with my mate. And I found I was editing his stuff, my stuff, and leaving all of his, because I can't believe I said that. I sound awful, and But after a while, you just sort of, I don't know, I just get over it and just do it.
Cheyne, yesterday I was editing a video that series I have coming up with Sensation Perry, in the same thing. I was editing mistakes that I had made. And then I got frustrated with it, and I was like, I'm not even going to edit that out anymore. It's who I am. You say something not exactly correct. Well, you correct it a moment later. Just leave it in. Just go.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about podcasts compared to pre-recorded interviews. I know this one's pre-recorded, but it's it's just riffing, and you really get to see how the person, speaks. We all make mistakes, and like I've said words that's probably not the correct meaning, but like it's just actually who you are.
Me
Me too, yeah. Yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to explain something in Japanese or about Japanese, or just you got to go with it, man. You got to
Or a
go.
message goes off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right, mate.
I literally, we talked
Perfect.
about this too, and I said I have to
Well
I have
timed.
to turn this off. Let me quit. Let me quit the messages. I can't. Oh man.
All good, man. All good.
Oh,
Well, while you're doing that, well, my next one of my next questions is, so how do you choose your guests?
So when I come to the idea of choosing a guest, I have pretty small criteria, to be honest with you. I do not look at rank. I do not look at style. I basically look at, have I met the person and either had a chance to sit down and talk to them for 5 to 10 minutes or 5 hours, and have I had the chance to train with them in the dojo? Have I had a chance to train with them at one of their seminars, at another seminar? And that could be for a 1 hour session. It could be with them being the instructor. It could be with them just being in the seminar with me. A variety of things. But I set that criteria only so I know a little bit more about the person before I get into it. You and I have chatted. We haven't met in person yet. We will one day. But you and I have chatted a fair bit about our style. Man. How come I can't get that thing to turn off? Hang on.
It's a professionalism. So the funny thing is, before you came on, you said, "Is my audio good?" Yeah, because I'm just using my computer microphone. So it's amateur hour when you're behind the podcast, isn't it? But it's full professional when you're running your own. Yeah, great.
Exactly. Yeah. I've literally quit my messages. And I can't get them to turn off, so I don't know. Hopefully,
good. That's okay.
It's actually, I'll tell you this. It's Michael Hagan from Apex Performance. He's texting me. I should text him right now and said, "Hey,
well, actually, tell him this, because I've changed how I teach front kick just from his front kick video." Absolutely,
I will tell him that.
Do you know who else has?
I want to text him again. Hang on.
My Japanese instructor, who was 88 in Chiba, I saw him doing the same thing. So he's obviously seen how I do it, because I've watched how Michael Hagan does it. And when the foot comes up, it's flat. It's perfect.
Yep.
So yeah, tell Michael that. Thank you. He's influenced an 88-year-old. Sensei.
Fantastic. All right. Well, hopefully he'll leave me alone. But
yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Then I'll use Michael as an example of someone that I've interviewed, but I didn't get a chance to train with him. I met him here in Okinawa. We were going to train together. We spent several hours. We had dinner. We were hanging out at the dojo bar, and
that's dangerous.
Then something came up. I had to leave. I had to leave the island. Yeah, the international hub that it was.
I do, yeah.
I had to leave the island, actually. Unfortunately, it was a family funeral. I had to immediately leave. It was like 2 days later. So we didn't get to train together, but I had met him in person. So later I did a Zoom interview. I had no intention of doing Zoom interviews. Of course, COVID kind of changed that, but that's just kind of my criteria. I want to know the person a little bit more before I sit down with them, because I think it helps me continue the conversation.
Yeah.
And I will be perfectly honest and perfectly blunt. There's people that I met beforehand. I had intentions to interview them after I met them. There's like only 2 people. I decided not to.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was worth it. It wasn't the type of person I wanted to be around. Just different type of character. And so I'm not going to give them a platform. They can go out there and do that on their own.
Who are they? Name the names. No, just kidding, of course.
One of them was probably quite well known. One of them was not.
Well, the good thing is there's no politics or egos in karate or martial arts.
This is true. There never has been in the
never has been. No. We're all saints. Well, with that, when you're preparing the interview, do you write out any questions, or are you mulling over in your head, or what's the process?
I've done both. I've done both. I've written out questions that I specifically wanted to ask. I've put information out online ahead of time, like said, I'm going to have a guest on this date, and I've taken feedback from people off of Instagram and Facebook, or just email. Hey, what questions do you want me to ask this person? And then there's other times where I just go in completely free. But the reason I want to meet the person ahead of time is so I can formulate these questions. At least, even if I don't write them down, I at least have an idea of what I want to talk about. Because I think it'd be very difficult to go into an interview cold. It'd be very difficult for me to go in and someone I've never met before, I don't know anything about them. It would be hard for me to ask the questions, I think, and try to get more information out. But I've also gone to the point where I've emailed the questions to people ahead of time and said, this is kind of a general flow of what I might want to cover, or what I definitely want to cover. I also give them the opportunity to tell me anything that they want to cover, or more importantly, what they don't want to cover.
Yes.
I don't want to be in an interview where I ask somebody a question that they didn't want me to ask. Maybe I didn't know, that I wasn't supposed to ask it. I just want to give them that opportunity to say, hey, let's not talk about this subject. Okay, no problem. I'm perfectly fine with that. I've had one guy that I was interviewing, and afterwards he asked me, can you cut that part out? No problem. Cut it out. I'm not a investigative journalist where I'm trying to corner somebody into saying something wrong. I want this to be a friendly conversation.
Well, the thing is with a podcast, it's a niche market, and then a karate podcast, it's even niche, nicher. Is that a word?
Yeah. Well, it is now. We just made it up.
Yeah. Well, there's so many karate podcasts out there now. Well, there's not really. There's not.
There's really not.
Yeah.
There's not.
I think I listened to all of them.
For the people that think that, or they think, well, someone else already did it. How many times have you been driving down the road and there's a McDonald's and a Burger King right across the road from each other? Or
totally.
There's enough room to go around, right? Okay, well, geez, Ian Abernathy already has a podcast. Yes, he does, and he's hitting a big market. And there's another group of people that aren't going to listen to that particular market. Yeah, go do it. I mean, I encourage people to get out there and do it. I think it's great.
Well, for those who don't know, I actually sat down with Josh for a good bloody 2 hours or something, and asked you 1,000 questions about starting a podcast. There was, as far as I know, there was another podcast from my friend Martin Phillips, who lives about an hour and a half north of me, but and I didn't want to step on his toes, so I listened to his podcast, and it was completely different to what I wanted to do. His is more about the actual physical karate side, where mine was more about, a vast majority of things, but interviewing podcasters, that's one of my main things now, and not successful ones. That's why I've got Josh here.
That's the nice thing about it. There's enough to go around. I mean, there's enough topics out there to talk about, right?
Yeah, I think I'm maybe there's only me in Australia who's doing a podcast. So Martin doesn't do his any longer that I know. I think he did maybe 5 episodes. But I listen to his podcast. I listen to yours. I listen to Karate Without Belts, The Invisible Sensei, the Karate Cafe. And actually, when Reese and I were thinking about when I asked Reese to join me, what am I going to call it? And then we were just talking we both like coffee and we both like karate, so let's call it Karate Over Coffee. And I said, there's another one called Karate Cafe. And he's like, it's totally different. I'm like, okay. Then after we registered everything, did a couple of episodes, I thought, it's too close to Karate Cafe. I thought, it's too late now.
It probably hits different markets anyway, especially regional. I think that one's in the States, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're probably going to hit different, even though with the internet, of course, we look at our statistics and there's people that download the podcast from all around the world.
I mean, the majority of people listen to my podcast are my students. So,
it's a requirement for promotion.
It's definitely not required. It's encouraged.
It's highly encouraged.
because there's a test.
What did Sensei say during this episode?
Yeah, episode 12. What was the title? So so that's how I came up with the Karate Over Coffee, or we came up with Karate Over Coffee, and I still feel bad because I still listen to the Karate Cafe. I mean, I listen to podcasts all the time, just like yourself.
Podcast.
Yeah, it's a good podcast. Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect podcast, and like nobody is covering everything in karate because karate is different for everyone.
Right.
You've got Olympic karate. Right. You've got.
With that same idea, Shane, my podcast is called Okinawa Karate Podcast, but I've interviewed a Taekwondo sensei or Taekwondo master. I've interviewed someone just last week that is from New Zealand, and I talked almost half the podcast. I was asking him questions about his indigenous martial arts from New Zealand because I was very interested in it. And I've interviewed someone that trains in Kung Fu, an Okinawan gentleman that now lives in Taiwan, very, very skilled, Yoshida Sifu, who I interviewed in one of my earliest ones. So for me, it is all connected. It's all overlapped. I don't think we have to hold ourselves. If you want to do that and you want to stay focused only in one lane, that's fine. That's really good. There's people that are going to do that. For me, I can broaden it out a little bit. And that's why I interview people when they come here to visit as well, when I get to train with them, right? So it's not only people that live on the island, it's people that travel here or have traveled here or wish to travel here. I've not interviewed anyone other than Master Robinson, who does Tang Soo Do. He's the only one that's not traveled to Okinawa. Everyone else I've interviewed, pretty sure. Yeah, everyone else I've interviewed has been on island. I've met them on island.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the criteria. I've actually turned down a request from someone in the States because I did not meet them. And I asked them, it'd be great if we could meet in Okinawa or if I'm back in the States. And I hope that does happen in the future. But for me, I'm not the type of person to reach out necessarily over the internet to try to build that relationship so much. I just would much rather do it in person, kind of keep going with that.
Who would be your ultimate guest then? If you could choose, I mean, other than myself, who would be the ultimate? Oh, suspenseful. So you'll have to wait to hear who Josh's ultimate guests are. So make sure you listen to part 2, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you for listening to Karate Over Coffee. And if you're enjoying the podcast and getting something out of the episodes, there are a few things you can do to help us. If you don't already subscribe to us on YouTube, please do so. We release these episodes every Friday morning, Australian time. Plus, we release some smaller espresso shots during the week on both our YouTube channel and our Facebook community group. You can also subscribe to us on our Apple or Spotify. Leaving a 5-star review will be very beneficial as well. If you have any suggestions or topics or feedback or anything that you want to talk about, please put it in our comment section on our Karate Over Coffee community Facebook group. If you'd like to support us, please visit our online shop where we have official Karate Over Coffee shirts, hoodies and mugs available. Your continued support is appreciated and a vital way for the podcast to keep moving forward. Thanks, guys.